Zac's vision for the film is getting at the realism as much as possible. You can see from the color palette, there's a lot of purples and yellows and greens, much like Dave has drawn in the book. I call it like stylized realism.
With Watchmen, not through the treatment of the film where we're trying to emulate the look of the book, but the use of the secondary palette, and it's a little more subconscious, but the influence is definitely there.
Zac's storyboards, I mean, we know everything what we're doing. It's so helpful because you roughly know your angles and where to put your lights and stuff like that, yeah.
I wouldn't say necessarily there's a one lighting style that can say you're in this era or not, but it jumps back and forth. Some things look very modern and maybe you wouldn't have seen in a film in the 80s, but other parts, you know, the film, I think, completely feel like you're being transported.
Though we're in a house ship, we have a love scene in there, you know, with just moonlight, and then we have snow and lights on, and obviously you can't put lights everywhere. You have to cheat, and it's very difficult when you're in a small area like that, you know. It's like shooting in a shoebox.
Zac's approach has been a very traditional way of shooting and a traditional way of composition. And the best way to do that was sometimes with a single camera.
When you make a movie, a lot of times you take a second camera, and if the actors are talking, you stick a second camera in there to try and get a close-up or something like that to make it move along faster. That second camera normally suffers a little bit in its composition and design just because it's not the primary focus. But for this movie, it's a one-camera show.
His shots are so designed, so it's hard to kind of get a B camera just somewhere to get another shot. You know, he won't use it. When you're doing 180-degree dolly moves and stuff, I mean, where do you put the other camera? You know, it's great for me because that means I can make each shot the way I want it to without compromising, which you usually do when you have 2, 3, 4 cameras.
The shots are there and they sit and the action plays out.
I think we always knew Watchmen would be this way, more practical. I think even at 300, you know, all the green screen was more about skies and distant background. I think a lot of the visual interest isn't just in sprinkling magic post-production look on it, but just the design of the shots and the sets and the lighting. And it's a dark movie. So you see some of these sets and, you know, they're lit really dark. There's that edge where you're keeping the sets really dark, but you still want to show off how amazing they are.
And action!
If you go on the streets of New York, which I've done, you end up turn off all the street lights that are making multiple shadows and you put your beautiful light in one place or something. But we ended up kind of not really doing that. We left all the street lights on, we turned more lights on to make more multiple shadows, and then, you know, didn't use a lot of fill. I think that's why it kind of feels real. Watchmen-y.